gonna say, move or copy. And you're gonna have to do this like 6 times or something, because it's for a whole project, our whole first project's gonna be on one file. So we're gonna have lots of tabs. So I'm gonna say move or copy, and I'm gonna say create a new copy, move to end. I'll say okay, and so now I've made a new copy. I'll rename this one. I'm gonna double click on that, go to home, and I'm gonna call this one S2, because I think I'm gonna put the second floor plan on here. Okay, and I'm gonna type second, and I'll delete second floor framing plan. I'll delete the rest. Here's again more for demonstration. Okay, so here's now this tab says second floor framing plan. I'll pull a bit down. It's a horrible room. Now, since this isn't the second floor framing plan, I'm gonna go into paper space, which I'm in, not in now. Go to paper space and delete these viewports. And now I'm gonna just type MV, enter. I'm gonna make a new viewport over here and over here. Double click in here and I'll zoom into the second floor plan. And I'll hit 1 to 100. And there's the second floor plan. I'll lock it. And the second floor plan is visible with all the dimensions. Okay, so in this layout, it's scaled at 1 to 100, while in S4, it's scaled at 1 to 10, all these different viewports. Okay, so again, even though on the model space we can only set one scale, on the viewports we can have multiple scales. Okay, now let's look. Okay, so that's about that. So we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so that's how the annotated features work with scale. Now this over here, I'm going to go into paper space. This title block is a block with attributes. In my class we went through this a few times, but anyway, I'm going to double click on this, and it opens up this table. So this one here is S4, so if I clicked on this, I could change this from S4 to whatever I want. The title is here. Here it says Adrian, so I want that, so I'm going to type my own name. Okay, and then if I did this just on the first one, then a lot of the information I could copy over. Change that. Okay, let me change that. Okay, so okay, let's go to second floor. So the second floor, had I done this beforehand, then I wouldn't have had to change the name again. So again, if you do it on the first one, the stuff that's common, then each time you make a new sheet, then you'll have that stuff here. So I'll just change this name again. And then I'll go to the date, put the date, the instructor, put my name there. It's actually CLX 22. Where's scale? For the scale, it says as noted, that was for the Pentos one, but we're working on the roof plan here. So I would change this to, from as noted to 1:100. Okay, and that changes down over here. So it says 1 to 100. Okay, the sheet here would be S2, I think, for the roof plan. S2. Anyway, so that's this is a block with attributes. So why I'm telling you that is because we're about to make a block with attributes, and we did this again. We should have done this last semester when we made the little titles under the views. Right, we had a bubble with a number and a name, and we could stretch the line so it was attributes and dynamics. So we're going to do that now again, and you can sort of delete this this one if you want. Okay, so let's get on to that. Okay, so we know about about the annotative stuff, so let's go on. Okay, so these are the bubbles. Each one of these is called a bay. So we're gonna be looking at stuff later that's gonna talk about bays. So it'll say, let's look at this side. If it says bay AB/12, we're talking about this bay. So we'll be talking about the structure in this bay. What the beams are, what the joists are. So again, these are the joists, these are the beams. These here are the columns. Okay, let's start with the columns, okay? We'll do that first. Okay, we will, in the second floor plan, which is what I'm looking at now, the columns are made of 3 lines. Okay, we don't want the columns of 3 lines, we want to make a block of the column. So this is a quick, easy start. We're gonna make a block of this column. Okay, and then we're gonna make a block of the bubble with attributes. Okay, so how do we make the block? In the block panel here, or if you go to insert, over here it says create block. I usually just stay on the home panel. So over block on the top right, it says create block. If you hover over it, and then go create block, there's 3 aspects to making a block. So again, go to the second floor in the structural side, on the left side. I'm gonna call it column, or just call. Okay, so that's number 1. The name is first thing, so here's in blocks, create panel. So if you fall behind, just tell me and I'll stop. Because might as well do this part together, especially the next part. Okay, everybody together? Okay, so I gave it a name. It says pick point, so I want to pick the insertion point. Fortunately, I have the midpoint snapped on, so I'm just going to go to the midpoint of this column. I'm going to click it. Now I've got a name, I've got the insertion point selected. I've got an exclamation mark here because I have nothing selected, no object selected. So I'm going to go to select objects, and I'm going to select this. Now I don't really have to worry about picking these lines because the grid lines are all locked if you lock them. So I'm just going to go like this, and I just selected these 3 lines because when the layer is locked, you can't select. Okay, that's why I locked. I'll hit enter, and I'll say convert to block, and hit OK. This is now a block. Okay, so now I can go to my roof plan, and I'm not going to do all of them, I'm just going to do a few of them. Remember, this is sort of an L-shaped building, so there's a column in these 2 corners, then there's columns everywhere else, but not over here. So I'm going to go insert. There's a lot of stuff in this file, so I'm going to grab this here and go right to the bottom, and here's the column I just made. And I'm going to put it over right there, my first column. And I'm not going to keep inserting them at this point. I would just go copy. And I would copy this column, select the midpoint of it, and I would bring it to here, and I would bring it to here, and so forth. You know, so just place all these columns everywhere it's supposed to go. And the columns are the same columns from the first one. Okay, that's it. Okay. So it's the same columns, remember it's a 2-story space. Now I do have to bring down the names of the columns too. So again, I can just go copy and select, the column identification. Again, I'll just do a bunch of them. So I went copy, I'll hit enter. It asks me for a reference point. So I'll just pick the bottom corners where the 2 grids meet on the second floor. Right there, and I'll go and bring it down to the same point here, and now I brought down a few columns. You should, again, I'm just doing a few, you're going to do all of them. Okay, so again, this is just stuff, again, if you're in my class, you know I'm all about doing things fast and, it's about speed, so doing it efficiently. Yep.
Did you do the block thing again from the beginning?
To make the block again?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so on the second floor, the blocks are not blocks. So, okay, so there's one, it's not a block. So I'm going to go to home channel, create, under where blocks is, create. I'm going to give it a different name because I just already made. I'm going to call it call-2 since I made one. I'm going to say pick point. There's only 3 things to make a block. Pick point. I'm going to snap to the middle of the block. And then the third thing is to select objects. I froze my layer for my grid, so I can just go and select the whole thing, but I'll select them one at a time. Okay, so do that, hit enter, and I say convert to block, and now this is a block. Okay, with insertion point. Okay, so that's the block. Okay, now, let's do one more quick little thing here. And the exterior dimensions, we're gonna have to put interior dimensions once we have the joist plan on, but let's just bring down these dimensions. Again, why do things twice? These dimensions are annotative. You notice when I hover my cursor over that dimension, it has a little 3-leaf clover. That means it's an annotative dimension or text, okay? So I'm gonna go copy, same thing. I'm gonna go right through these dimensions here. Again, I'm not worried about the grids or the bubbles because they're on the grid layer, which is frozen. I'm gonna go and grab the dimensions on the side here. Yeah, I got them. I'll hit enter to complete my selection. Once again, I'm gonna go to the bottom left. You can go anywhere that's the common point, right? I'm gonna go to the bottom left, use this as my reference point, and bring those dimensions down to the same spot over here. And now, again, I've saved myself a bunch of time because I've just taken the dimensions from the second floor of the exterior dimensions and done it, you know, on the roof plan. Okay, I'm just taking stuff, right now I'm just cheating, right? I'm taking stuff that's common to the second floor and bringing it down or up to the roof plan. Okay, and now at this point, I'm gonna select this, and I can see that these dimensions are on A annotations. Really, they should be on S annotations, because A annotations means architectural annotations. But we'll just leave it there for now. It actually helps in this case, because I wanna lock that layer, because I don't wanna mess with my dimensions. So I'm gonna drop this down, and the first layer right here is A annotations. So I'm gonna hit the little padlock there, and now I can't screw up my dimensions here anymore. Okay, and in fact, I don't know, let me just see, steel, yeah, steel. Let's see, when I select the name there. Yes, column. So I'm gonna just go lock that layer too, okay? So I'm gonna go down, so when I selected the column on the second floor, it told me that it was on a layer called S column, which doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna go lock S column steel plan. So I'm gonna hit the padlock there, and now I don't have to worry about, you know, if I wanna select some stuff, I don't have to worry about selecting the columns by accident, because they're all frozen. Oh, I didn't freeze it. I hit steel plan, and then hit column. Okay, S steel column, okay, I froze the joist, that's right. Okay, they sort of get a little, yeah, these frozen too? Okay, done. Okay, so when I put these column blocks in, I put them on the 0 layer, I think. So I'm gonna just go like this. When I do this, it looks like I'm selecting everything, but again, I can't select the frozen layers, so I'm just gonna go now and just go steel column, S column steel plan, and say close, and now these are on that layer. Okay, so on my roof plan now, everything I put on here is on layers that are locked. Okay, so now let's get to the tough stuff. Okay, I'm gonna draw a circle on S annotations. So let's make S annotations active. So I'm gonna slide down to S, not G annotations, S annotations, yeah.
When you change the layer, do you change it in the second floor, or you change it
In the second floor.
you change it in the second floor?
But it would have affected the first.
It would have.
I mean, I changed, it's gonna affect all that layer wherever it is. So it also locked these columns here, the ones that weren't blocks.
So you block this, so you block the
I locked A annotation so far, I locked S grid, and I locked S columns.
Okay. And which one did you change? You changed something to it?
Well, because when I made the blocks, I put them on the 0 layer by mistake.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just moved them over to the S steel column. Okay, so I'm gonna change the active layer to S annotations. Okay, so I'm just gonna slide down here, hit S annotations. So find S annotations, click it, that is now the current active layer. Because now we're gonna draw this grid bubble here. We're gonna make a block for this grid bubble here. This is not a block, this is just a circle and a layer. It's gonna be a bubble that we can just click on to change the letter or number. So that's the attribute change. But we're also gonna make it dynamic so I can rotate it around. So say I wanna put it at the end of this one, I can use the same block. If I wanna put it at the other end, I can do it. Or if I wanna put it at the bottom or top, whatever I wanna put it, I can put it, and it'll always be the right format. Okay, so this is fun for me. Okay, so I'm gonna go to circle. I'm gonna put a circle over here with a 500 millimeter radius. The lock's not on, 500. Okay, so there's the circle, and it's on the S annotation layer. Okay, now I'm gonna make, okay, now that's it. That's the only line work I'm doing for this bubble. Now I have to put an attribute in. Okay, so I'll do this slow. I'm gonna change to the insert tab. Okay. And the instructions are, for this, I wrote them step by step, but again, it's never as clear. Okay, I'm gonna go to define attributes. So this is how you put an attribute. Again, attributes are, again, this title block, again, this is what we're doing. This is a block with attributes, I double click it. This opens up with all these questions and allows me to change. Okay, so we're gonna do that with this bubble, except it's only gonna have one attribute. So now I'm gonna go to define attributes. This thing opens up. I just need to fill up the right side. The tag, I'm gonna type NO_LTR. Okay, so it's saying it can be a number or a letter, right? This bubble. And or I could do anything I want. I could call it just bub. You know, I could do whatever I want. It's just tag. The only thing about the tag is it can't have any spaces. Okay, so that's why I put the underscore, I could put a dash. Now the prompt, you know, I'm gonna say, what is the letter or number? Question mark. So that's the question that's gonna come up. Really somewhat unnecessary since there's only one attribute. You know, I could just put a question mark, you know? I need a default, something that's gonna come up. So I'm just gonna type a big X here. Okay, stop me if I'm getting ahead of you. Down there, guys, again, you're gonna require this, so make sure you watch it. Okay, so again, I've just made a tag, I've made the prompt, I put a default in. I want, yep.
So the circle you just freehanded, right?
I did 500 millimeter radius. Okay, so the justification for this attribute, I want it to be middle center, because I'm gonna put it right in the middle of that circle. So I'm gonna go middle center. And the last thing I'm gonna do is set the drawing, the text. Okay? You have a question then? Okay, so I set the justification to middle center, so the text will be right in the middle here. And I'm gonna set the style to NO title text, so I'm gonna use the big text for this, okay? So I set the text style to NO title text. I want to use the annotative title text. I mean, I could use it.
So it would just right side, right, scale. That's why
Well, because it'll do the scale by itself. Like, as long as my scale of my model space is 1 to 100, it's gonna be right, but it'll only be visible at 1 to 100.
And you chose the title, you can change it anytime. It doesn't have to always be title.
No, it could be bubble, you could put whatever you want. It's just a tag, you know? Okay, so that's all I have to do, just fill in those 5 things. I'll hit OK. And now here's my attribute. And if I hover over the edge of the circle, you see a snap at the quadrant, but I don't want that snap. It also made this crosshairs appear in the middle. So that's what I want to snap to. So I'm now just gonna go over that crosshair, a little circle comes there, it says center, I'll snap there. And now I've snapped that attribute to the center of the circle. Okay, so I click that attribute, there's the attribute that being justified to center. Okay, so that's it for my line work and my attribute. Now, for this to work, I have to make it into a block. Okay, so again, I have a circle, I have an attribute, now we're gonna make a block of it. So, let's go to, well, here's create block right here, so I'll just do that right there. So I'll go create block. Again, once again, you only need three things to make a block, and that is the name, so I'll call it bubble one, so we have to make another one. And now, next thing I have to pick a point. Now this is important in this case. Now, one would think that I want to pick the center of the circle as my insertion point, but if I did that, when I attach it to the end of one of these lines, then the line's gonna go halfway through it. So I wanna pick this right quadrant. That's why I wanted you to turn on the quadrant snap. So for the insertion point, I'm gonna say pick point. I'm gonna go over to that circle, and you can see the little diamond there, and it says quadrant. That's my insertion point, right over there. Okay, and now it says no object selected. So I'm gonna go select objects. I'm gonna pick the circle and the attribute. Yeah, I did okay. Now I'll say convert to block. Okay, and you can see a little preview of it up there. Say okay. And of course it comes up right away with the prompt. What letter do you want? I'll just say okay. Okay, so now this is a block. The insertion point's right there. And if I double click on it, it opens up this. I can change this to A or whatever I want to change. Okay, so I now have a block of an edge.
And now that's the in one layer, so
You know, I put it in SNF. Everything's in SNF. That's why I made SNF. If it wasn't, if it's not, you can change it. I'll show you right now how we're gonna do a dynamics to it. So we're gonna go into the block editor. So if you have it in the wrong layer, you can change it. Okay, so we're ready? Now here's new stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna select this block. I'm gonna right click, and go block edit. Okay, so some of you are familiar with this, some of you aren't. So again, say I had done this all on the zero layer, I could select this and select this, go to the home tab, and I could change it to this annotations, you know? So I could do anything here. When in my class, I think I used the toilet example. If I have a block with 1,000 toilets in an auditorium, I can go into block editor and modify that toilet, and all the toilet blocks will be changed. Okay, so, but in this case, we're gonna put dynamic feature to it. Again, last semester we did a line where we just could stretch the line of the title block. This one we're gonna let it rotate. Okay, my insertion point, remember, is right there. So I'm gonna go to the parameter. You need two things to make it dynamic. You need a parameter and an action. So the parameter is gonna be rotate. So I'll pick rotate, just follow the instructions. It says pick the base point. So I'll go right over here and pick this point right over here. Okay, again, it says pick base point, so that's the point I want to rotate about. I'm gonna pick that. Now it says, what's the radius? The radius doesn't really matter. So I'll just pick a point out here. And now it's asked me, what angle do I want? This doesn't matter either because I'm just gonna be rotating this. So I'm gonna type 0 and hit enter. And now it's done. Okay, so this is my parameter. It's an angle parameter and it's set to 0. So my grip is gonna be out here on the right. Okay, maybe it would be better to be on the left. The exclamation mark means that I've got a parameter but no action, so it's useless. So now I'm gonna hit the action tab. And what action do you think we're gonna pick? Rotate. Okay, it says select parameter. Okay, I always read the instructions on the screen. Here's the parameter, I'll select it. Select objects. I'll select the attribute and the circle, hit enter, and that's it. and here's my action right here. If I wanted to get rid of it, I can hit the little X. So here's my parameter, here's my action, it's all done. So let's close this block enter, I'll do it again. Okay, change saves, save changes to bubble, and whatever.
So what happened?
Watch this, and be amazed. Okay, so I'm gonna pick bubble, and I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna go down here on that. I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna put it there, and I'll say, this is, I think, F. Okay, and now, I'll pick that, and I'll grab this grip, and I can rotate it. I'll hit F8, so I'm in ortho mode, so it just rotates from one to another, so I'll put it right there. So over here, this one's supposed to be 1, so I'll go insert, I'll pick this, I'll put it right there. It asks me which one, I'll say number 1, I'll say okay, and now this one's in the right orientation, but I could do it, any way I want. So let's do it at the other end. I'll go insert, pick this, I'll put this over here, and once again it asks me what's the grid, I'll say okay, and now I can grab this, I'll rotate this way, and so one bubble I can put at the top, bottom, left, right. It does everything. Okay, so and now, I mean, when I'm doing this, at this point, I would just go copy. I wouldn't insert them each time. I just go copy and pick, point to point to point. Okay, so this one would be. I just want to look here. Okay, so this one's A. So I'll just double click this now. Hit A. Okay, this one's gonna be AX, so I'll say A and then shift X. This one's AX because this one defines a stairwell that goes over here, so there's not really gonna be beams on this grid, but I need, this one's gonna be B, so and that's the other. Okay, so that's how you do a block with an attribute. I can add more to it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'll do it, I'll draw a circle again. So again, I'm in S annotations. I'm gonna draw a circle, 500 millimeter radius. I'm gonna go to insert, define attributes. Again, if you have the instructions printed, I did all this out. As best as I could. Okay, define attributes, so I'm gonna give it a tag. This time I'm just gonna say it's bubble. Okay, so my tag's gonna be bubble, and this time I'm just gonna put X question mark. Okay, so rather than type out the whole prompt, my default will be X. I could leave nothing here as well. Okay, my justification is gonna be middle center, because that's where I want it to be, and I'm picking anno title text, because I wanna have big text. That's it. Yeah, hit OK. I'm gonna hover over here. Fortunately, I have my center snap on, so I can go snap this right to the middle. Okay, so there's my attribute, there's my line work. Yep. The justification of text, so here this text justification, I changed it to middle center. For the attribute text.
So at least, sorry, if you select the circle from the beginning when you start to define the attribute, it won't put the text right in the middle.
No, if I'll just move this one out for now.
If you're defining the
Yeah,
attribute.
when I made this attribute, if I did not say middle center, this would have just left me with this one.
Oh, I see.
And then I would have gone here and I would have put it like this, and then it would have been centered, so I would have just. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now it's just again, create block, and I'll call it, up to, and again, so that's the name, select the location. I'll pick this quadrant here, select objects, I'll select these two objects, hit, okay. What I can do now as well, and we don't usually like to do that because it stays on forever, I can check this box down here, you can see it, say open in block editor. So I'll check this box, so I'm gonna hit OK, and it's gonna open right in block editor. So I'll hit OK, and we're right in block editor. I'm gonna go parameters, I'm gonna go rotation. Again, read the instruction, it says pick base point. So I'm gonna snap to the same point. Now it says what's the radius? Again, I'll turn off ortho. I'll put a radius like that. And now this time, I'm gonna put the radius down here. Okay, so I made it 180, and now it says locate the label, so I'll just locate the label. Okay, so you're gonna see slight difference in how we rotate this.
This last time we pressed 0.
Right. So you'll see the difference. Okay, I'm gonna go to actions now, I'm gonna pick rotate, there's only two things required, pick the parameter, and it says select the objects. The bubble, the circle, and the action. Hit enter, and it's done, there's my action. So I'll close block editor, save the changes, and I'll just grab this and bring it over here, this one so you can see the difference. Okay, so this one here, when it inserts at the same point, but when I rotate it, I can rotate it from here. This one here, I made the rotation over here. Okay, so it's just a matter of where my grip is to rotate. Okay, so that's how you make those bubbles with attributes and then make it dynamic. Now there's one more thing I'll just show you, and then go back to block editor. Now, when I was rotating it, I used ortho mode to just snap it to 90-degree locations, but I can actually go to the parameter, right click, and go to properties, and in properties here, it says value set. And right now it says none, so my rotation is just whatever it wants to be. I can just change this to increment, and I can set the starting increment at 0, and I can make my angle increment 90, and then I start at 0 and end at 360. Okay, and you can see what's happened here. It's made this little blue mark here and a little blue mark there, and I guess you can't see the other two, but you'll see what's going to happen when I'm finished. I'll hit close block editor, save changes, and now I'm going to turn off my ortho mode. My ortho mode's off. So again, here's the first one I did. If I rotate this, I can just rotate this anywhere. But this one here, where I put in those increments, if I click this, you see those dashed? I can only rotate it to 90-degree increments. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with dynamic blocks, you know? Again, when we went to the tool palette, when we put in the trees and stuff like that in the cars, these are all dynamic blocks, you know? If I put in an aluminum window, you know, this is a dynamic block. I can stretch it to different size windows, right? It's all done the same way. This is using the stretch edge, you know, and they're all dynamic blocks. So if you're ever interested in dynamic blocks, I find them fun. You know, you can go and just, I'm not sure if Linda does, lynda.com does dynamic blocks, maybe, but you can certainly type into YouTube AutoCAD dynamic blocks and you'll get lots of examples. Okay, so that's the block. So again, I'm going to copy this down 5 times. I'll do this both sides at the same time, and then we'll get on to the really hard stuff. So I'll change this to 2. I'm just doing this because we're going to start doing some stuff now. So I'll give you a okay, so I'm just double clicking on each attribute, changing it to 1 to 5, going from top to bottom on each side. I like to do it on each side so I can work from each side and see what the bays are. Okay. All this is well explained, or as best as I can explain it in my instructions. So I was doing the top row A to F, A, B, C, D, E, okay. Okay, so far, I have, again, let's just go outward. I brought the grids down, I froze it, I brought the dimensions down around the perimeter that were similar. Again, I froze it, I made a block of the beam, I'm sorry, the column, I brought down some of them. I brought down the labels, and again, these will be the same columns, because again, it's going through a two-story unit, so it's the same column throughout. So I can bring, use this as much commonality stuff as you can. Okay, and, okay, so now we're ready to draw the bays, or the joists of the bays.